sharing your experience, information, education, entertainment, news, instructions, advice on diabetes, high blood pressure, strokes, menopause, AIDS, pregnancy, sex.
Sex? Did you say sex?
As prescribed, take your medication, exercise, and diet. On 88.5 Sufra FM, tell a friend, call your neighbor. Casualty 911 is on.
Good morning, everybody. Today is a wonderful day, and I am happy to be here with you all. Again, the weekend was just too short, I must admit. It could have gone a little longer because some of us are extra tired. Sorry about the technical difficulties a while ago. We're just doing some testing. So this morning we have a very important topic, something I realized that has been plaguing our community, our school system, and parents and teachers have been having difficulty with. And some people are in denial, parents are in denial, family members are in denial, community members are in denial. So before I give out that topic, let me just say good morning to all our listeners, and a few announcements. One, because Fosishak is closed today, there is pharmacy at Sufre Hospital for the entire day. Yeah, so pharmacy at Sufre Hospital today. Don't forget the bus system organized for Fojejak Wellness Center patients, as well as clients, as well as Etanks Wellness Centers. So for the Tuesday, there is the bus assigned, and the Wednesday morning, there is a bus assigned. The buses assigned are only for the medical clinic days. Okay? So this is what you have to do. You have to be by the Fonjejak bus shelter from 7:30, and the other one, it starts from Monjak bus shelter and it goes up all to Belfont and all of these areas, and it picks up people for Etangs Wellness Center. Okay, so you can go to the Belfort bus shelter, the Chateau Belle Gap on that day around 7:30. The bus will pick you up. So we're trying our best. If you have any concerns, any issues as it relates to the bus system, you can always call our PHNS, that is Ms. Eloise, at 285-0405. All right, and the bus leaves Sufre Hospital at the 12:30 marker, and it brings you back home. Yeah, so persons coming to Sufre Hospital and from Fojejak and the Etangs clients from the Etangs Wellness Center, bring water, something to eat, and so on, because you're not in your region, and Sufre Hospital clientele is much bigger than your normal health center. So you might well understand that you'll be spending a little more time there. Okay? So Sufre, Etang, Chateaubelle, Monjac, Fonjejak, all the communities in Fonjejak, Belfont, all of these areas. If you come in to the doctor on the medical clinic day at Sufre Hospital, bring a light snack at least, okay? And having said that, I'm going to go back to my topic, and next month is Autism Awareness Month. And one of the things that we realize is that a lot of children They might not be autistic, they're a little bit slow, or they might be autistic and they're in the spectrum, they can function, they can do everything. But I mean, you see other aspects that a normal child will, do with flying colors, or we have some autistic children that are so bright. But however, many of us parents are in denial. Many of us don't want to accept the fact that our children can be autistic. Um, and this is one of the things that have been plaguing our region. And today, I am not going to bring a doctor in. I have plans to bring a doctor in to speak about it. But I brought somebody that is no stranger to our radio program. She has been a teacher for many, many years, although now she's a social worker. And so that is one of the things that people need to understand, especially for our education system. When we send our children and they have that level of disability, and what we do, we don't want to go through the correct channels. And I remember our nurse this year or last year spoke about it. After the assessments, the referrals, a lot of the parents don't send the children to the various referrals that is being asked of them. Many of us want our children to go through the normal educational system, and parents tend not to try to play the part to understand our children's condition, and that is where our teachers tend to have some difficulties. Our teachers sometimes, because your children are among all the other children, and there are issues involved. So without further ado, I would allow Ms. Bondimet, who is no stranger to our program Casualty 911 or the radio program Super FM, to give a little, insight as a teacher, a former teacher, a former special ed teacher at one point in time. I mean, how she faced it, how, her encounters with parents and so on. So go ahead, Ms. Bondimet.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for having me this morning. My voice is not the best, so please bear with me. As Ms. Wilson rightfully said, I was a teacher for many years, and of course, part of my teaching career was being a special education teacher, which I loved very much. As a special education teacher in our public school, what we dealt with was more remedial work, children who are slower than their level. So what happens, how a child gets into the special education class, we would have to do an assessment for this child, a reading assessment, and also a math assessment. So if this child falls 2 levels behind where they're supposed to be, then of course they would be included in the special education classroom. Whilst we do that, of course, we would call parents in and let the parents know that the child will be included in the special education classroom. If we realize that this child is really way behind, for example, if a child is in grade 3 and they're operating at a grade K level, we would have to refer this child. And where we further refer this child would be to the MDT, which is the multidisciplinary team. And it's a group of professionals, parents, and sometimes the students for evaluation, planning, and so on. And in St. Lucia, our MDT team comprises of, we have different specialists, we have pediatricians on board, we have psychologists on board, we have special education teachers, persons who are specialized, who are trained, and so on. So you have a multidisciplinary team who would assess your child. So not just somebody would come and say, okay, Sid, let me ask you some questions. But on a medical term, the child will go for blood tests, hearing tests, eye tests, and so on. And on a psychological end, of course, they will be checking their mental faculty and so on. So it's a diverse team. And after this assessment is done, the team would give their recommendation. And sometimes this recommendation is that this child cannot operate at their full potential at the public school. Therefore, they have to go to a specialized school. And this specialized school most times would be a special education center. And of course, many parents oppose this. And excuse me. I do get why sometimes parents oppose this because of the stigma attached to these special schools, where persons will call these special schools the deck school, the
Retarded.
momo school, the retarded school. And I want persons to move away from that because look at the different professions. All of us are not doctors. All of us are not teachers. All of us are not nurses. All of us are not farmers. We have different professions, just as the children have different abilities. And I want to applaud the special education centers for the fabulous job, the fantastic job that they're doing. They have a beautiful team, both the Soufre and the Vieux Special Education Center that I am aware of. And I'm sure all the centers on island, of course, they're doing a fantastic job. Okay. So parents, if you are ever called and the school says to you that you need to send your child, the teacher, of course, would recommend that your child goes to the special education classroom, which is within the school. Many of you oppose it to say, my child have no problem. You all don't like my child. And this is what we get because it reflects on you, the parent. That's how you take it. It reflects on you. But parents, it does not reflect on you. Okay? Because I'm sure when you make your child, for example, you're an Indian and you have a child with less of an Indian, persons with a harder hair. Okay? And you would love that you have a little girl and the little girl takes softer hair, nice brown eyes, nice skin. Can you dictate what characteristics that child is going to get? No. So when the child does not take the characteristics that you want, are you going to say you don't want that child or hey, hospital change that child? You cannot do that. So the same way, when you have your child, you cannot dictate the child's abilities. It is not on you. Okay? The child's mannerism, the child's discipline is on you, but the characteristics and personality is not on you. So parents, when your child comes, of course, and the child is not at the level that you wish the child to be, the best thing you can do for your child is to give the child all the assistance that this child could get. It doesn't reflect on you as a parent. What you do with the child will reflect on you. So if now the school is calling and saying, of course, we have assessed your son or daughter, and we believe that the child needs additional help to be sent to the special education school, embrace it. Because the school is just not pushing your child away. Because what can happen is that your child is in a classroom of, say, 40 students, 20 students, and the child is not performing. The teacher moves with those who moves. Would that be fair to your child? No. But the teacher now is making accommodation for your child and is saying, okay, I believe this child needs additional help. So please allow this child to go to the special education teacher where this child gets individual attention. This child gets the help that he or she needs because the special education teacher tries to give as much individual attention as possible. So when I was a special education teacher, I used to work with small groups. So I would organize my timetable and try to work with the different age groups. For example, if I'm taking grade ones, because we don't really start in grade K, I'm not sure if it has changed right now, but we used to start in grade one. So I would try to take all the grade one students or based on the level. So when I assess them, if I realize that the children are operating at a grade one level, I'll take all the grade one levels and work with them. give them individual attention. I will reach out to other schools, other resource persons for assistance. So it's just not, I'm going to sit there and do things I don't know. I reach out to persons for further assistance. And of course, there's a special education team that we work along with. And I know Mr. Dale Segis was our education officer. I'm not sure. I think he is still there. Yes. So they are very resourceful, very helpful. So parents, when your child goes to that special education class, this is for extra help for your child. Not because the school don't want your child, not because, oh, that troublesome child, you're just moving that child in the class and pushing the child somewhere else. That is not the case. Or because we don't like you as a parent to say, oh, style you have, we will show you. We'll take your child and put to special education so you'll not have all that stuff. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the child. And we want the help for the child. So when the child is sent to the special education classroom, like I said, if the special education, because of course we do our assessments, if we realize that this child is really falling back, of course we will call in the multidisciplinary team, which we call MDT, and we will have them to further assess this child. And this is where the problem starts. Anytime a child is referred to MDT, parents are starting to go crazy. Special but miss, my child doing everything at home. How you mean in the school they're not reading? When they're home, they're reading all the things on the wall. Sometimes parents, you send voice messages to the teachers. It has happened to me with the child reading, and you say the word, the child repeats it, and in the voice message I'm hearing you, cat, dog. The child is repeating, and you're telling me when you come to school, you tell me, Miss, you read all the words. He was not reading the words, he was repeating what you were saying. So you are doing your child an injustice. Okay? So when you are asked to take the child to the multidisciplinary team, please do so. Don't fight with the school, because you fighting with the school not wanting to do it is keeping your child behind. I have a success story. I was working in a particular school, and there were two children, two siblings, who were not doing well. They were coming to special education. I called in the family. I told the family we are going to refer them to MDT. It took a fight. I had a fight to actually get them assessed. When we finally got them assessed, when the results came, they had to be transferred to the special education school. Let me tell you, I went as far as calling family members I deemed who have more understanding than maybe the parents, and it did not help. They even threatened to transfer the children from that particular school because they said, we don't like the children. We don't want the child at the school. We this and that. Let me tell you, the excuses from bus to, and the school provides bus, mind you. The school provides everything. And I had a fight on my hand. Imagine, I was just transferring from being a teacher to a social worker. I took time off to go to the time they were giving the results. I went to the parents and the family member to have it explained by Mr. Segis, the head of our team, to these parents, and still nothing. But all in all, thank God, a family member came and was able to convince the others, and the children went to the special education school. And let me tell you, these two children are the happiest children now. And these two children are the stars of the school. Every time the school posts a picture, one of them must be showcased. Must. And to hear the parents now, oh, my child got a medal. Oh, my child. So parents, let me tell you, it's a joy. This is what we work for. So I am telling you, special education. I had my son, and I keep saying it all the time. My son had a terrible lisp when he was in grade K. And I had already told the grade K teacher, do your assessment so I could send him to special ed if I have to. Because I understand it's not about you, the parent, it's about getting help for your child. So if your child has to go to the special ed school, do not hold the child back. Because right now, I'm so upset about it. I'm asking the ministry to create a policy where we override parents, your authority, because you are holding the children back. I know some of you don't like what I say, but it's the truth. Right, Miss Wilson?
Right, Miss Bodemet, because I've heard parents, I've met parents on the streets who came to me and said, I was so disappointed when they told me my child had to go to special ed school. But now it is the best thing ever for me. And the parent was telling me, oh, they keep them at the age of what, 21 now?
Okay, I'm not sure.
Yeah. And she said, I said he's a big boy now. I said, no, miss, leave him. When they are that age, they tend to teach the others. They help the teachers. And I said, you'll be surprised when you see them at the school, when you go to the school, or when there are activities. And parents, like you said, that was once in denial. They're at the sports, they're at the activities with the children, and it is a fun, exciting time for them because they realize that was the best decision ever they could have done. And I am so happy when parents say that to me because when the children are young, and as you said, the stigma of the community, and a lot of parents are in denial. And even within our system, when they come to the hospital for assessment by the pediatrician, so many of them miss the appointments. Let me tell you, they don't parents don't come with the children. Sometimes the teachers, the principals have to take it upon themselves to go with the children.
And I will say something to that, Miss Wilson.
Yeah.
I will not totally blame parents because at the end of the day, unfortunately, we as parents need to balance our lifestyle. And you employers out there, I'm hoping you're listening to me. You need to work along with parents as well, employers. Because a lot of you do not give the parents time off. A lot of you threaten the parents and say to them, if you take the time, I will fire you. So you employers who are hearing me, I am hoping that you are working with the family to understand, because if the shoe was on the other foot, you would want some time off. So sometimes, I'm not saying always that it is the employer's fault, but a lot of times, because persons who have come to me, persons who have to come to a meeting with me, sometimes I have to call the workplace, I have to send a letter. I understand sometimes people, you are the ones who created that issue because you will ask for time off to say you have to go to your child's school, and your employer passing at SNS and seeing you shopping jolly go wally your way
Big
at
time.
SNS with your nice sexy outfit, which means you never went to a meeting. So you have created that issue. But employers as well, especially if you know that your employees has this child with special abilities or something, work with them, please, because they need the help. Because sometimes genuinely the parents want to come, but because of their job, and of course, I might choose my job because I have to feed my child. So we need to work with the employees as well.
And I can well understand that they need to have a compromise, a balance. If I have an appointment in the morning, that means I cannot come to work in the afternoon. If I have an appointment in the afternoon, I work the morning. And one of the things I find sometimes is difficult is our bus system in Choiseul, especially coming to Soufrière. It can be very tedious to come out of Choiseul to have a morning appointment and get back home to go back to Soufrière to come to work. I mean, I have experienced it when I didn't have a vehicle, and it can be so sometimes you really need the entire day rather than half the day.
Yes.
Because of the transportation system, where you live in the community and so on. So it can be a very little ticklish sometimes for staff members. And I can tell you, at least I have that level of flexibility, but imagine you have an appointment in Soufrière morning at 10 o'clock, and then you have to go somewhere like Delse, and to come back to Soufrière to work in the afternoon. It just does not work. But Miss Bondier all said and within our system. But however, sometimes we as parents recognize our children abilities, or we realize something does not add up, or even when the nurse does the assessment, the free assessment and so on, and they do pick it up. And some parents, start acting up from then. Even when you hear them at the health institutions, they're so upset when they come out, because the nurse have already given them a heads up. You need to do, you have the referral and so on. And they don't, they do not. And that is one of the problems that, by the time that children reach in our educational system, it goes without saying. Some teachers will pick it up, some teachers might not pick it up.
And sometimes they hide it from the schools. They don't tell
the school
what is happening, because this particular situation I spoke about earlier, when I spoke to the mom, God bless her soul, she's deceased now. When I spoke to her sometime, and she said to me, Dr. Ate di moi sa, ite ton ban ete clean, misa ite tout petit. Dr. Ate had di moi pa fonction bien. Dr. Ate had do we pa fonction bien. Ou vina l'école pa di yen. Still l'école la do, ok. I pa ka fonction menen pour fonction à l'intérieur l'autre l'école. Ou still ou maybe, ou no problem maybe. And again, I think we have to educate our parents. So a lot of times schools, when you have in your meetings, your parent meetings, bring in resource persons to speak to these parents. And the resource persons you are bringing in, ensure they can speak the Creole language that can reach the people, because not everybody understands the English language.
The problem is, and that's the reality, the parents you want in there and not the parents you get at the PTA meetings. And furthermore, the moment you bring some people feel they are targeted. They are targeted, and that's one thing they need to get out of. Because it might not be you the only parent in that situation. There might be other parents in that situation. Therefore, that is why they have the need to bring in the specialized people. But some parents and guardians or other community members, I am extending it to the community members, they don't see it as that. They feel that sometimes people are being targeted, especially, the issue is we as community members, we have our same persons within our community working at these educational systems, working at our health systems. Sometimes people always like to feel that they are being judged. They are, and that is one of the issues that is long outstanding. There is no public confidence, or there is no confidence in the person that is from our community working within the system.
It's always a thing of, I don't want that person to know my business.
Exactly.
I don't want that person to know my business. I want people to know my business. If you're going to assist me with helping, know my business. I'm not going to let my child suffer because I don't want somebody to know my business. We need to change that mindset, people.
And that is what I'm saying. Sometimes it is even more than the parents. It's the community at large. And that is where the community need to provide support to the parents. And you see it. Some of the children act up. And one of the things the children do, and they're not thinking, okay, maybe something is just not right. The child is acting up in the supermarket, and they start staring, making the parents and I sit in the supermarket all the time. There are some children that are just spoiled rotten. When they come to the supermarket, they expect to get what they want. But there are some parents that go out with the children, and you can see that they have the children with them. They're feeling a little overwhelmed, a little frustrated. And that happened to me just recently. I was at one of the wellness centers outside my region. And the child would stay a little while, and the child is fidgety, and you could see the child is probably on the spectrum. And, and the other persons are watching the woman and so on. And I had to say to her, don't worry. Do not worry. You a good mother. you trying your best with him. And I had to say, just let him have his little time out and so on. Let him come underneath my tent. If he wants to touch anything, it's okay. Take that little time to breathe. Let him sit among us for a little while, because he will not sit down for more than 5 minutes. He'll get up and so on. And I said, when that time comes and you have to go and take the medication, don't worry, leave him with us. Let him run around and we'll watch him for you. And this is at the level, and then the people start staring afterward because they realize, we were there providing the support to her and so, and and these are the kind of things that community members need to understand. Your looks, your stares, your comments,
Yes,
can even cause more harm. Yeah, to the parents themselves already. They're already coping with these children, and then you adding fire to it. Another thing I want to say
before you move on, just step in. And this is why we encourage this: let a community raise a child, bring back community raising a child.
Community
because
spirit.
because we have created this barrier, and we parents created it. We have created this barrier of don't touch my child, don't speak to my child, don't interfere with my child. So of course, if I see your child on the road, I will not touch and interfere with your child, because everybody knows the law now. But sometimes you can even afford they will come to you, Miss, I need assistance. Tomorrow something happens, a lawyer pulls up to you when you're trying to assist. Oh, they know the lawyers very well. So we have to be so careful. So what we call self-preservation is happening a lot now. So sometimes it's not that you do not want to help somebody. You have to preserve yourself, because no longer can you go and say, Louisa, don't do that. What's going on with him? You tell mommy. You cannot do that anymore.
I'm not even watching the child sometimes.
Okay. Yes, this is what I'm saying.
For fear the parents attack you.
And tomorrow the parents come to you and say, what did you tell Louisa? Kiss out the Ishmael. I remember clearly there was a program right here in Soufre. We were speaking about mannerism, and we were talking about courtesy. When you see persons on the street, you greet and say good morning and good afternoon and good evening. And somebody who attended this workshop came afterwards to me and said, Miss, if I tell you what happened to me, you won't believe. Miss, I met a little child on the road, and the child didn't greet, and I said, you're not telling me good morning, say good morning. She said, next thing I know, Miss, the parent came to my head and the curses I got. I said, Ishmael, bonjour. And this is what we have to deal with. Parents, sometimes you create your little monsters, and I'm telling it to you. You are creating your little monsters, and tomorrow, social worker, police, the system not helping me. The system helping me down. You let your child down first. Because these are the little things that you have to start doing, and you don't do it. And tomorrow, the social worker has to work miracles. Miss Wilson has to work miracles. The police, everybody have to work miracles when you allow the little things to go. So parents, we have to come together to make a difference. Bring back community spirit. Yes, I totally agree that we cannot trust anybody by our children. I get that. But if a person is passing and corrects your child on something that the child is doing, if a child comes to you and say, mommy, I was going up the road, and just so Miss Louisa passed, and Miss Louisa tell me, go, mommy, you are not going to take what the child just said and go attacking Miss Louisa. Go and find out from Miss Louisa what happened. Reach out to Miss Louisa and find out what happened. What happened? Okay? And you take it from there. So we have to bring back the community spirit. So go ahead, Miss. Sorry about that. This is really that was really important. I wanted to
I tend to agree with you so much, because I think one of the issues that, a little stray away from the topic, is that it amazes me why children don't greet people anymore. And I keep on saying to myself, it's a different generation.
It is.
And
even the parents don't greet fathers and children.
But with me, I know for a fact when I walk in Sufret town or any community I go to, I always greet everybody. And they might not know my name, but they know my face. Even when I'm driving down to work, the farmers are going to the farm. I will stop, wave them, I will slow down, wave them, and shout morning, and so on. They don't know my name, but they know my face. And just recently I was driving down and I gave two elderly gentlemen a ride, and they were just coming from, and they asked me who I am. They said they know my face, but they don't know who I am. And they even could recognize me with my former vehicle. And now they recognize me with that new vehicle. And then they asked me who I am, and I told them, and they remember me as a child, but now that I'm grown, yes. And then I told them, okay, where are you all going to? And they boarded, and then I dropped them. Actually, I dropped them halfway because I see they were tired and elder. They were in their 80s already. And they acknowledge, they tell me they like the fact that I am driving, my glass is never up, and I'm acknowledging them every morning, and that goes a long way.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
So back to the topic. I was saying something that, when we as educators, and that's the thing, based on my own experience with my own child, sometimes we in the system and we educators fail our own children. And sometimes that is where the issue lies sometimes. When a child is slow, you pick up the child has issues, the child has a condition. You as an educator don't feel that you have not done what you're supposed to do. And that's where it starts. Because a parent will say to you, my child is performing well at school, in the grade K, grade 1, grade 2. But the child at the grade K level, oh, but my child was getting 80s and 90s. So you're not picking up the child has some issue. You've seen it at home, but sometimes you as a parent saying, but maybe at home but at school she's giving it her best. And our system fails us sometimes.
Sometimes.
Our system fails us. And a lot of educators, our teachers need to understand that. When you do that, you're failing the child even more. It makes you look good as a teacher, but you fail the child even more. And I want to say that to our educators, because the moment the child is probably a slow learner, you're picking up the child has some learning disabilities and so on. Don't think about you looking good and all your averages is high. Refer the child.
Yes.
And that has been happening in our education system, and we're failing our children quite a bit. And educators need to understand that. I am a victim of it. I will say it. I am a victim of it. And these are one of the things we need to understand. It doesn't matter if that person is the prime minister's child. It doesn't matter if that person the child is a prominent person's child in the community. Reality check, early intervention can work wonders.
Very much so.
And that's what we need to understand. Because when you tell me the child getting a 80, 90 average grade K and grade 1, and maybe the grade 2 teacher is not one to stand for anything and has that principle, and you wondering why the child is not performing in that teacher's class. Does that teacher don't, like you said, maybe that teacher don't like me, or that teacher is jealous of my child, or that teacher is jealous of me as a parent. But reality strike. That teacher is giving you everything as it relates to your child's performance. There is that learning disability there. There is that, and you see, after the parent is already in that mode, and for the parent to get a blow 2 years or 3 years down the line, it makes it worse.
It does. And no educator should do that. No educator, that's against the law. It's not about making yourself look good, it's about the child. And if this is the case, then maybe they need to get some external assessors to come in to start assessing students, because I don't understand why somebody would want to fabricate, and I'll call it fabricating grades for a child just to look good. I know it happens, but I'm saying this is very unlawful. And anybody caught doing this should be charged, honestly, because you are working for the child. If I have entrusted my child in your care,
Exactly.
okay, and I find out this has been happening, I am going to take legal action against you as a parent. And this should not happen. Don't make my child look good. I want to deal with the reality of a situation, because it's almost like, okay, my child has a hearing problem, and you as a teacher have noticed that the child has a hearing problem, but because maybe, okay, you don't want to take the responsibility of that, or you don't want it to seem that you have a bright class, that you don't want one of your students to have an issue, so of course you're going to fit in for the child. So if a child does not hear, you're going to write it for the child and say, this is the issue here and whatever, and help the child. Whereas you could help the child, meaning that you do the work for the child. Whereas you can take the child to be assessed properly and diagnosed. So I hate to believe this is happening in the education system. And if it is happening, teachers, we need to correct that. Fellow teachers, we need to correct that. Principals, we need to be on our guard, and we need to correct this issue.
Yes, because whereas early intervention can be done, in doing that, you putting the parents in a bind where now it's the time to do things. And let me tell you, some parents are very stressful careers. They have everything else, but with careful planning, they need outside help. So when you do that, you put parents in a position where it makes it even more difficult to plan the child's life, what school, what lessons they can put the child in, and so many things to help the child. And that is one of the things educators should really take into consideration. It's not about you as a teacher.
Definitely.
It's not about your level of competence.
Yeah.
And it makes it worse. Now it really shows your level of competence as an educator. And these are the things we need to take into consideration, because a lot of parents used to tell me, and my child was performing so well, and all of a sudden, but then another teacher picks it up.
They do.
Another teacher picks it up, and the teacher will tell you there is no way the child could have gone through that system with such high grade if the child has that medical condition. And that is one of the things that as a parent you get a hard blow. And I can say that to many people. When it comes to me, I had to change my career. Because I was in a highly stressful job. I wouldn't have time for my child. And then I had to change my career to suit my child's learning abilities. Yeah, because you want a level of flexibility. You can go to the lesson, sit down in the lesson. You have time for the lessons.
Definitely.
And all of these things. So it's not about you sometimes, the educator, or you as a parent. You have to make adjustments. You cannot continue thinking you can live your life the way you used to if your child has autism, your child is autistic, or your child is on the spectrum. You have to make life adjustments.
Definitely.
And this is one of the things parents need to understand. And I'm really glad we could have brought that up, because I'm sure other parents are going through it and the system is failing them. The parents fail themselves, and they fail the child. And also our educators tend to fail the child also. And these are the things. That is why today I want it to be about the experiences and not really, about autism. We're going to speak a little bit more with the doctor and another parent that has an autistic child to speak about the experience. But I wanted it to, be where parents can relate And that is why I feel, you know, we as parents, it's just not about your child is being diagnosed or your child, you know, but it's the journey you go through our system.
But it's very important to have a support system. It's
Yeah.
very important to know who to go to, where to turn. Because sometimes, like you're saying, the child was at the health center and the child was fidgety, of course, because of the child's diagnosis. And to have a support system right here, you said you came in and you spoke to the parent, you assisted. Had nobody done that, she would have felt alone. So just that is already support.
A lot.
So I am thinking that educators now, like us, me, you, other persons, like you were saying earlier, that they don't come to the parents' meeting. So we go to them. So we go to the health centers. We speak to the parents. We speak to the community members. We go to have community meetings. You know, so we need to start educating the public. We really need to start doing some more educating, sensitizing persons on different abilities, on support systems, and the biggest one, empathy. I think
Yes.
right now, empathy has you know what is when the animals have become extinct. I think empathy is becoming extinct in our society. Persons don't feel bad for anybody anymore. It's all about that's not my business. It's not affecting me. Why should I care? So we need to be empathetic. And empathy means to feel for somebody else. Basically, what we call in our jargon, put yourself in somebody else's shoes. So you feel the situation that somebody else is, or you say, okay, if it was me, how would I feel? So too many people now, it's all about my business. My business. It's all about me, not about you. What do I care about you? I have enough in my life to care about me. Why? No, people, we need to take some time, okay? And be empathetic towards others. Because if we have no empathy for somebody, we cannot expect others to have empathy for us. So treat people like how you would like to be treated. So if you see in your community somebody needs help, you cannot do it financially. Do it another way. Okay? You see your sister or your brother struggling, help them in whatever way that you can. And persons who others are trying to help, learn to accept the help, because some people don't know how to accept help. They feel that they are charity cases. I'm not a charity case. I'm what you see. I look like I need your help. What you think? For you to go and say whatever tomorrow. And all. So sometimes you want to help, but because of the person's attitude, how they receive their help, you hold yourself back. So persons have to learn how to accept help, and persons have to learn how to give help. So these two. So I believe that we really need to be a more empathetic society. And if we are a more empathetic society, a lot of things are going to change. Because if we start imparting that empathy in our children, we start teaching them how to be empathetic, of course, a lot will change. And you'll ask me, how do I teach my child to be empathetic? Because it's almost like a feeling. You naturally have to feel for somebody. You start putting them in certain situations. You start telling them, okay, you pass, sometimes you deliberately step on a toe, just to start teaching a lesson. And you don't say sorry. Don't apologize. You step on the toe and pass. Of course, your child is going to react and say, Mommy, you step on my toe. Mommy, you step on my toe. You didn't even say sorry. You didn't realize you step on my toe. And then you, as a parent, make it a learning situation right now. And say, you can react in a good way and in a bad way. So show the child both good and bad. You don't apologize at first and say, what was your toe doing in the way? If your toe wasn't in the way, I would not step on it. Okay? And of course, the child will say, after you step on my toe, this is how you're going to behave. So then you can ask your child, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? What I just did there and whatever. You have a discussion and then tell the child, I am so sorry. Mommy was just teaching you a lesson. I am so sorry for stepping on your toe. The child will, that is a lesson for life. It may be very simple, but it is a lesson for life. So now the child knows if you now tomorrow step on somebody else's toe, you knew how it felt for you. Now you will say you are sorry because you know how it felt. So these are some of the lessons we can teach our children. So make it real life situations and teach them how to be empathetic. It's very, very, very important right now because it's lacking in our society. Okay? Because if others are feeling empathetic towards others, do you think the high rate of crime in our society it would be so high? It's because right now nobody cares about anybody. It's all about me. We're living in an I world. I want this and I want that and I should do this and I should do that. You see a lady struggling with a child. You can see like Miss Wilson said that the child has an issue. Mm. You know, there are
yes.
sensitive
That is so common. That is so common.
Sensitive comments I've heard. Ou pwete fè ya chomon fonti dek ou fonti moumou. Mwen te de ou depi jwa pou te fonti mama ek moun papwe. Ou a yache ou nou fonti mama ek fan moumou. Se za for watch chomon. I've heard the comments, I've heard it. And my goodness, what would guarantee that you would give the child, the person a healthy child?
Mm-hmm.
What would guarantee that?
Mm.
So, persons, we have again, there's no empathy.
That is true. You hear that all the time.
You hear it. Mon te voyager nom la yache pou fè moun sa. Mon voyager.
Il va te wè famille moun animal.
Exactly.
They say that all the time.
And tomorrow when your grandchild now comes out this week, but be careful what you say. It comes back to haunt you. Be power of the tongue. Be very careful, people, what you say. Because today, like they said, today is my turn, tomorrow is yours.
Yeah, very much so.
Okay? So we have to be very careful what we say, how we treat people. Okay? Because we all need each other.
We do.
Yes.
We do.
And for special education parents, let us make it about our children, not ourselves, our children. If you realize that maybe the school has no diagnosis, like Ms. Wilson said, you realize that your child has an issue and the school has not diagnosed it, get help. Go to the principal. Go to an outside source. Because if it's a school that's not helping, go to an outside source.
Yeah.
Okay? Take your child to the pediatrician. Tell the pediatrician, these are the signs and I don't understand why the school is saying my child is performing at that rate and home the child is behaving this way. All around me, the child is behaving this way. The only place the child is performing is at the school. So please carry out an assessment, do something. So you go out and get help for the child. Because don't remain in denial. And if you parents get the assessments at the grade K levels, the grade state age 5, age 3, assessments are being done. The nurse says to you or the doctor says to you, this is the issue right now. I believe that the child may be a bit slower than his or her age and so on. Do not hold it to yourself and say, so I have an effect. You are hurting your child, not the school, not the teacher.
Oh, you know, the parents, some of them say, what is Giscastry? Like, you know, like they will not bring the child for an assessment up north.
Election campaigns,
and not only that, I mean, when there is an activity, they go miles. They want to go and get the outfit. They want to go and do this.
Okay.
I mean, you as a father, if you have to go up cashews and you go, and these are the things we need to understand. Yeah, because when the time comes, they look for all excuses.
Exactly.
I don't have money.
Mm-hmm.
It's true you don't have money. When it comes to other things, you get it.
You go. And this is what pains me. Because it's very same parents you see come to you crying. They cannot do this for their child. They cannot get this done. They cannot get this done. They cannot even find your office. But when there is an activity somewhere, and it was honestly, I spoke about election season, because that's the worst I've seen it.
Uh,
Certain parents, yes, certain parents did not miss not one political activity. They were everywhere, on the trucks, on the road, and you name it. You swear they are the ones going up for politics. They did not miss it. And then you wonder why, when you call them to your office, they have to work. Jesus Christ is coming down. Everything happens under the sun that they cannot come for their own child, for their own good. So, parents, we need to make it about our children. Yes, we are not putting you behind to say that you don't have your shortcomings, you don't have your challenges. We all do. We all do. But make an effort. This is what we're asking you, parents. Make an effort. If you realize that, and it's from the tender age, don't start getting the help at 14 years when your child is already out of hand. Don't start getting the help at age 14 and age 16 when this child has already grown into their personality and their ways. And it, at this point, it's very difficult to change a child's mind because this child has grown into their personality and their ways. That's not the time to start reaching out because they won't listen to you anymore. They start rebelling. When the child is 3, when the child is 2, when the child is 1, parents, start disciplining your child. Start looking at the child. Start doing your own assessment. If you realize, okay, for example, parents, I've heard parents say, I have a very intelligent child, yet they want to tell me my child have a problem. Again, I'm no doctor. You will be told when the specialists come that there are different levels of the spectrum. That a child may be very intelligent, but lacks in other places. So parents, work with your professionals, work with your support system so that we can work with you. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Bondimet. I really like that. It's already 11, 9 minutes past 11. So we just want to encourage parents during the assessments when your child goes through our clinics, our child health clinics, when the teachers do the recommendations, the principal make the recommendations, just bear that in mind. And if you need assistance in counseling and so on, there is always the mental health team at our different wellness centers to help you go through the motion. There are many organizations that offer assistance. There are different programs for these mothers, and hopefully we will bring somebody in to speak about it. Different symposiums that they have throughout the island where you meet other parents with children if you're the same medical conditions. And it makes it easier. It makes you feel that you are not alone in that battle. And another thing I want to say is our fathers, you need to provide sometimes the level of support to the mothers, especially when our children have these kind of conditions. It's not always about the mother bearing the burden, or some of the mothers, it's not only about the father bearing the burden, because I know fathers that has that, they are the ones doing everything. And some of the mothers are so grateful too, that, the fathers do. But there are some mothers that just don't care. Whereas there are some fathers that just don't care also. It goes both ways. But there need to be a balance. They need to have that support from family members, community members, and so on. Yes. So again, thank you to all our listeners. Thank you, Erlan. Thank you, Rome, for providing us with the support that is needed. And I wish everybody a blessed week. The Easter weekend is coming. I want persons to be mindful of drinking and driving. Let us not make, these decisions, these careless decisions where you have been drinking and you go out driving and so on, because there are a lot of activities planned for this weekend, right? There are a lot of activities. To me, I see a lot of ads for dances and so on. So I'm hoping, is that the weekend of Rise? Yeah.
Yes, it is. On Sunday.
On Sunday, so we're going to be lit. But at the same time, I want you to take the necessary precautionary measures for drinking and driving. Also, I want ladies as well as men to be aware. Do not leave your drinks unattended. There are a lot of substances out there that are very detrimental to your health, as well as persons tend to experiment with these drugs. So I'm asking you to be mindful. Do not accept drinks from anybody else or anybody. Do not go and because you know that person, they bring a no. Make sure that you see the drink is open in front of you and you pour it in your cup or your mug or whatever tumbler you have. Please take all necessary precaution. Another thing I want to say to parents, do not leave your children unattended and going out there. Many times there are fires happening. There are different things happening to our children at home. Be mindful. There are a lot of things that happen, especially when we have the holiday weekends. I'm sure, yes, everybody wants to enjoy themselves. I too will be going out and enjoy myself. But at the same time, we need to take all necessary precautionary measures. And I'm saying that to parents, guardians, and the children themselves too. So, thank you again. Do have a wonderful week. And thank you again, Ms. Bondimet, for coming in to speak with me. I'm hoping that parents could come out tomorrow. Weather blue. It's Autism Awareness Day. So, yeah, blue. Blue is the color. Tomorrow? Or is it Thursday?
There's a National Blue Day.
It's a blue day. What day is
I
that?
think it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
Yeah,
Let me see that. To me, I saw that on somebody's status. Why I keep on saying tomorrow? I keep on mistaking thing for what day is it? Oh, okay, I see it on Shema. April 2nd.
April 2nd is
National Blue Day.
Was it Thursday?
Thursday? Yes, Thursday. Sorry about that. I'm thinking, you know, I mean, come on. April is the month, so I'm actually. So yeah, so don't forget to wear your blue on Thursday. It's National Blue Day, April 2nd. They're going to have an activity at Constitution Park. But if you cannot make it, come to work with your blue, something, and make it a blue day. All right, people? So do take care and goodbye.